Very good morning. You're watching NewsX and I'm Shaheen. Let's start off this segment with the biggest news that we are in fact tracking for you. US Senators Jeanne, Shaheen and Elizabeth Warren have urged the Trump administration to end sanctions relief on Russian oil and not renew the Treasury General License 134B. They argue that the policy allows Russia to generate additional revenue from oil sales while offering no real relief to American consumers facing high fuel prices. Now, the senators further claim that the current approach is counterproductive and have accused Donald Trump's policy direction of indirectly enabling Russia amid a broader geopolitical tension. Now, let's in fact take a look at what the senators are saying, because that will help us give you a perspective on this entire issue, and especially how we are in fact looking at what the senators and what the Democrats usually want to in fact convey. All right, let's look at this sanction waiver war. We have Scott Bessent, who is the Treasury Secretary. What is he saying? He is saying that we will not be renewing the general license on Russian oil. So he has in fact given out this statement. He is the Treasury Secretary. He says that we do not want to renew that license that of waivers on the sanctions that had been given to Russian oil, because they believe that it is not helping the American consumers, who are in any case facing inflation, high inflation. They are facing high fuel prices as well because of the geopolitical tensions across the globe. All right, let's look at Senator Chuck Grassley, who's a Republican, and what does he say on this entire issue? He's saying that temporarily removing sanctions for Russian oil is the wrong move. It fuels Putin's war and prolongs suffering in Ukraine. So now we all know that over the past 3.5 to 4 years since the Russia-Ukraine war, America has been trying to put a lot of sanctions on Russia in order to make sure that they suffer trade, they suffer in the sectors of trade, in oil, and hence they will stop the war. But we've been seeing over the past 4 years that that has not deterred Russia in fact from continuing the war. So what this Republican is in fact stating is that this temporary sanctions waiver was a wrong move because of the Iran war. When the world was facing in fact a lot of fuel crisis, the US decided that yes, we'll have an alternate source for the world, and they can buy Russian oil, and hence they removed this sanction. But that is what the Republican senator is saying, that this was a wrong move. All right, let's look at Senator Chuck Schumer, who is a Democrat. What is he saying? He's saying that this decision is shameful and a 180-degree reversal. President Trump needs to stop letting Putin play him for a fool. So there is obviously a lot of chatter in the United States regarding how President Trump, he's taking these decisions. First he imposes the sanctions, and then he, puts in a waiver relief for the sanctions. So they are stating that this is a very wrong move. He's playing into the hands of Vladimir Putin, who's the Russian president, and this should not happen. Let's look at Senator Jeanne Shaheen, who's a Democrat. What does she say? She's saying that continuing to pause these sanctions is a mistake that President Trump must reverse immediately instead of enabling their additional revenue. So this senator, who's a Democrat, she believes that this is in fact enabling Russia, because there is a steady flow of income that is in fact flowing towards Russia because of the sale of Russian oil, because of the waiver of the sanctions. So this is what Senator Shaheen in fact is saying. She's saying that this is a mistake. This should not go on. The sanction waiver should in fact be lifted immediately. So these were some of the statements that were coming in from the US senators over there. Obviously across the board everybody is criticizing this move, and they believe that it is only helping Russia in fact increase their revenue let me in fact introduce Ambassador KP Fabian, who's a former diplomat who's joined us on this broadcast. Ambassador Fabian, we are obviously looking at this Democrat versus Republican war, but across the board we believe that the statements that are coming in from the US are that this is a huge mistake. The US President Donald Trump does not need to extend this waiver on the sanctions that have been put on Russian oil, and this seems to be the sentiment across the board. Ambassador, I want to understand, do you believe that Trump will in fact not renew this, given that he is soon going to face those midterm elections? There is obviously a lot of backlash and criticism that he's already facing because of the Iran war.
Thank you for the question. We have to look at the big picture. Trump is doing what he is doing in order to calm the markets. That is, in order to prevent further rise of the price at the pump, which is necessary for him from a political point of view. Second point, and this is more important, I am against all economic sanctions. Economic sanctions have been misused. You know how many babies in Iraq were killed because of sanctions. So the whole philosophy of sanctions has to be reviewed, and every country has the right to import what it wants from where it wants, and it is not for America to dictate. Now, coming to Russia, impact on Russia, sanctions by America or by the European Union have not, I repeat, have not had any impact on Russian policy. Its policy of aggression on Ukraine has continued. So, resorting to sanctions to have a change in Russian policy has been proved wrong. So why do you want to repeat something which has been proved wrong? Tell me, please.
Absolutely. So, Ambassador, you're of the opinion that this is already proved wrong, and he will in fact not be, continuing it. That is the, preferred line of thought. I also want to introduce Dr. Sharath Kohli, who's a senior economist, who's also joined us on this broadcast for more information on this. Dr. Kohli, I want to understand the economic impact, if any, that America will face if they decide to let these waivers still stand even after all of this time.
Good morning, Shivani, to you and the viewers. Well, either way, I think it is not going to improve the condition in which the American economy is right now, first of all. Sanctions or no sanctions, Russia continues to sell oil. For example, India continued to buy even without sanctions. And let me just update what I said an hour ago on your channel. That total number of sanctions, which I said are over 16,000, I have just been informed by my research team that the total number of sanctions are 29,000. And out of these, 14,000 sanctions were done before 2023 June, then thereafter another 13,000 sanctions. So all these sanctions, they have not helped. Russia is thriving. Russia had a bit of a financial economic problem. A couple of months ago, it had to dispose of some gold and liquidate some of its reserve assets. But then as with the oil price going up, I don't think Russia is facing any problem in terms of, as an economy for that matter. An American economy is already reeling under inflation, sanctions or no sanctions. I mean, the senator's point of view is that probably the oil prices are up, and which is giving additional profits to Russia. And Russia is then funding the war on Ukraine. That's what the senators feel. Well, President Trump's point of view is that if Russia does not supply oil, or these sanctions are removed on Russia, or without these sanctions, the oil prices remain balanced, whereas the fact is otherwise. The oil prices have been very, very high, and American inflation has been shooting up. Cost of living in America has gone up. There are no investments coming. $40 trillion almost is the debt on America. So either way, either senators or President Trump, I think both the viewpoints, Shivani, are not helping the American economy. Even if senators want, American economy to get better or inflation to come down, if sanctions are imposed. Although there is a thought which says that if these sanctions are again imposed on Russia as far as oil supply is concerned, oil prices may shoot up further. But I think what both senators and President Trump must remember, that why oil prices are high is because America has barricaded Strait of Hormuz. And if it opens Strait of Hormuz, I think the root of the problem right now is in Strait of Hormuz, and America's adamance on Iran that they should hand over uranium. Otherwise, they are not going to open Strait of Hormuz. If President Trump opens Strait of Hormuz tomorrow, the oil prices will come down, Russia or no Russia. So I really don't think either way it's helping American economy, Shivani.
Absolutely. In fact, I will request Dr. Kohli and Ambassador Fabian to stay on.